So, ab jetzt schaue ich Markus Lanz, damit ihr das nicht machen müssen. Wel, wieder, gestern, 3 Januar, wieder ein Panel voller Bullshit-Leute, die denken, etwas zu wissen oder die irgendwas umdrehen, damit es passt in ihren Narrativ. Das ist, wo Markus Lanz vorsteht, das ist, wovor Markus Lanz da ist. Weißt, er ist ein Staatspropagandist, eigentlich ein Establishment-Propagandist. Wel, wenn die Staat die AfD gehören würde, wird er nicht so viel Propaganda machen mehr, weißt? Dann ist es Ende damit. Also er ist ein establishment propagandist. That's Marcus Lanz. And yes, on January 3rd, yesterday, they had a couple of very pompous, very leftist, very Democrat supporting, leftism supporting, communist, socialist supporting people who, once again, wisely told their stories about America, about Ukraine, and about Trump once again. So let's go over the couple of things that they said about Donald Trump and about America. One of the guys, and see, this is what they always do, right? I said this yesterday. They put a little bit of truth in there, and then they twist the whole thing around so that for dumbass people or people who don't live in America and couldn't know, you know what I'm saying, just believe their bullshit, right? So let's start with the America shit first. So in America, right now, Donald Trump's base is crumbling. Yes, there's a lot of people that are regretting their support for Donald Trump, that are regretting being a part of Donald Trump's administration. Marjorie Taylor Greene left. There's a couple other people I think that left or resigned. And this guy on Marcus Lanz, the supposed America expert, he said that the reason for that is because of the Epstein files. That's what they were trying to insinuate. They were saying, well, this is really making Donald Trump's base upset, this Epstein files thing. And yes, there are some people that are upset about the Epstein files, but not because Donald Trump is mentioned in them, because what's mentioned about Donald Trump is zero proof that he did anything untoward with any underage women. It's already known that he was friends with Jeffrey Epstein before he got convicted in 2009. It's well known that Donald Trump threw Jeffrey Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago when he found out he was being creepy around Donald Trump's waitresses and you know, girls that were working at Mar-a-Lago. So when Donald Trump, basically what it shows is Donald Trump had a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein up until the time that he found out that Jeffrey Epstein was a pervert. He's never been to the island. There's no proof that Donald Trump did anything with any underage girls. But so what the people are upset about with Donald Trump about Epstein is that Donald Trump tried his damnedest to bury the Epstein files. Everybody is pissed about that. The only reason the Epstein files have been released is because they were forced to be released by the Congress, who passed a bill almost unanimously voting for it to force Donald Trump's hand and the DOJ's hand to release the files to the public, which they did. Now, let's be sure. Let me tell you right now, all the incriminating shit about high-profile people, which we know there is either been redacted, ausgeschwärzt, or those files and that information has been removed from these files long ago when Democrats were in power. I don't think anybody's going to jail. You know what I'm saying? I really don't. Because even Todd Blanche, the basically like right-hand man, aside from Stephen Miller, said that, look, we're not going to go investigate anybody else in regards to the Epstein files. That's it. End of story. So, yes, Donald Trump's base is angry, right? And yes, they are angry partially about the Epstein files, but not for the reason that this propagandist on Marcus Lanz said that they were angry about. See, they're angry for this reason. The Epstein files weren't released. Donald Trump didn't want to release them. And now it's basically Donald Trump's administration has made clear that they will not be going after anybody high profile for these crimes. The reason why Donald Trump's base is crumbling in America, the reason why I am losing faith in Donald Trump right now, is because Donald Trump's administration and the Republicans refuse to clean up the deep state. They haven't arrested anybody. They haven't thrown anybody's ass in jail, not for anything that happened over the last 10 years, not for COVID, not for the Russiagate scandals, not for the 2020 election, which they're now finding out is also probably corrupt, like we all thought, like everybody thought, like Trump's been saying for fucking 5 years, is that the election was stolen. I'm pretty sure that's true, and I'm pretty sure that we might get some information pointing to the fact that that is true. Now, will anybody suffer any consequences because of it? Probably not, because you can't rely on the government, apparently, no matter who you elect, to punish its own. It's not going to happen. I've lost complete faith in any government at this moment, because I see that, especially in America right now, I don't know what's going to happen when the AFD gets in, but in America, there's a lot of people that everybody knows is corrupt in some way or is responsible for things that they could well be prosecuted for. And if the Democrats were in power, you saw it with January 6th, they will arrest everybody. They don't give a fuck if there's a case or not. They tried to arrest Donald Trump. They tried to throw a whole bunch of shit on him that in the end didn't work out. You know what I mean? But they just do it. They're just like, no, fuck it. We're rounding up everybody. They put people in prison for like 20 years for January 6th shit, where nobody got killed on January 6th itself, except for Ashley Babbitt, who was shot in the face by a fucking cop. Okay? So let's remember what's happening in Minneapolis right now, what happened during the George Floyd madness, St. George Floyd, the best black person on the planet, better than Martin Luther King. It's St. George Floyd now, right? What happened there and on May 29th and in Minneapolis right now is much worse than January 6th. Much worse, right? And yet, people for January 6th who were just there, they didn't do anything, they didn't have any weapons, they didn't hit a cop, they were just there. They were doing 2-3 years in prison, maybe more. A lot of them were kept in solitary confinement, which is illegal. And the Democrats don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. They're just going to crush everybody, right? And that's what we need Donald Trump and the Republican Party to be. So when this propagandist on Marcus Lanz says, well, it's because Trump's mentioned in the Epstein files so many times that now the people are starting to lose faith. No. It's because the Epstein files were released. It's because the Trump administration is going to protect these pedophiles that were in the Epstein files. And it's because the Trump administration is showing nothing but weakness in cleaning up the deep state and getting rid of these fucking corrupt cocksuckers that are stealing everybody's goddamn money, getting rich while they're there, and then passing laws to restrict everybody's lifestyle and lives. You know what I'm saying? Yes, we want to see those people punished. If I have to follow a bunch of stupid fucking rules that somebody else made that I don't agree with, then so the fuck do they. If I get punished for not following those rules, then they the fuck should too. And it's not just about the Epstein files, it's about major corruption within the government. You know what I'm saying? The government is not run by the president. It's run by the CIA and all these clandestine organizations that barely have any oversight. The people of America are pissed at Trump because he's more focused on Iran and Israel and this and than America. They voted for America first. What they expected was Donald Trump quits Ukraine completely. If he can get a deal, fine. If not, we're getting out. No more tax money to Ukraine. Sorry. You know what I'm saying? No fucking around with, no more money to Israel. No more money to all these philanthropic places that they need to fucking grease the wheels in. No more money to other places. No more military interventions in other places. And Donald Trump's basically just gone, well, we got to do some shit. We got to keep our military industrial complex alive, right? So he is going against his base and the MAGA agenda because it's not making America great again. It's not cleaning up the swamp like he promised. And right now, and it was the first year, there may still be a chance that he does all these things right before the midterms in order to gain people's support again. Let's hope so. I hope so. But the reason why people are pissed off at Donald Trump is not what this guy said. He's a fucking liar. Okay. The next thing they talked about was Trump suing the IRS, which is the Finanzamt. Yeah. And Marcus Lanz was so empört once again. Klagt sein eigene Behörde. Das ist unbelievable. Listen, in America, it's been an unwritten tradition, which means not a law, not legally required, that presidents since about Nixon show their tax records to the public, right? They do it. They just do it. It's like a tradition that Trump's not going to follow. He said, no, I'm not doing it. He didn't do it in 2016, right? He said he wasn't going to do it. And so he didn't do it. Then some guy who worked at the IRS who didn't like Trump, which is like a lot of people, he stole documents from his workplace and gave them to the media And those were Donald Trump's tax records. So yes, Donald Trump is suing the IRS because they, at that time, it was in 2023, I think, they didn't stop one of their employees from putting Trump's personal private information out on the street because they thought, well, Donald Trump isn't following our tradition, so we're just going to go ahead and put the documents out there for people to see. Fuck Donald Trump. Yeah, they should be sued into oblivion, right? It does suck a little bit that the taxpayers will have to pay the $10 billion that he wins in that lawsuit. But, hopefully Trump will give it back to the people or whatever the fuck. That'd be the best thing. But either way, I don't care. I'd gladly pay it. You know what I'm saying? If I was there, I'd gladly pay that tax. I'd rather pay for that than I pay for Ukraine or Israel's bullshit, right? I really would, because those people need to be punished, right? They need to be punished. They need to be held to account. You can't, just because you don't agree with Donald Trump, go ahead and steal tax records from your place of employment as an IRS agent and give them to the media. That's fucking illegal. So they should get sued. Simple as that. The guy was also prosecuted and put in prison for it. I don't know if he's still there, but they caught him. They've imprisoned him. That's it. So now Donald Trump is suing. So it's not that weird, if some of the, it's not that weird at all. You know what I mean? That Donald Trump's suing them. I would sue them. Everybody should sue them when they do shit like this, those people. So that's another BS story, right? No, it's not that crazy that Donald Trump is suing the IRS. As a matter of fact, most people in America probably for it. I know that impurity Europeans can't handle shit like that. Oh my God, he's going against all the norms and all the norms that allowed the Democrats and the left to get away with absolutely everything, while they just hammered the public, hammered Republicans and conservatives, just like they're doing here in Germany, where anybody that's right of Robert Habeck is a fucking Nazi. So our lives are made difficult, bank accounts getting taken away, getting fucking censored, all that. They're doing the same shit here. And these people in Marcus Lanz are for that. They wanted Kamala Harris to run the show because then they get their Digital Services Act and all their socialist bullshit through, and things would be the same for them, where they could continue to suck America's teats and use their defenses while they give social welfare to the whole fucking world who didn't have a right to be here. That's why the Europeans are angry, is because they can no longer get the free ride. Now they got to figure out how to get a military together, how to fucking defend themselves. And that might mean we don't have as much money anymore for all the illegal immigrants to get fucking money from our tax dollars. Maybe that's good. So I'm all for Donald Trump doing that. And I don't give a fuck what the Europeans say about it. I don't care. Right? And when I say Europeans, I mean the European politicians, right? The ones that are running the show. I don't care what they think. Donald Trump didn't care what they think. So also, that is not that weird when you hear the whole story, right? The reason Trump is suing the Finanzamt in America is because they did something illegal to him. Any citizen would be able to sue about that as well, so it's not that weird. And the last thing I want to cover that they talked about in Marcus Lanz is Ukraine. Okay, Russia is bombing energy places in Ukraine, okay? Not good. But let's be real, it is war. I know that after World War II, the Europeans in America came up with this wonderful idea of Völkerrecht and blah, 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 but they can't enforce the Völkerrecht, right? They can't enforce international law. It's all, laws of war and blah, blah. Who the fuck's going to agree to laws of war? You know what I mean? If some dude on the street just comes up and goes, like, I want to fight you, we're going to fight no matter what. And I'm like, no, I don't want to fight, right? And he's like, no, we're going to fight. And he swings at me, right? And then I pick up a bat and go after him with that bat. He can't go, well, wait a minute, you can't even with a bat. This is a fist fight only. Well, no, listen, bitch, you brought me into a fight that I didn't want to be in, and now I'm going to use whatever I can, okay? And so Russia, now I know they like to say that Russia's bombing civilians. I don't think they are. I don't see any evidence of that. Are they bombing civilian infrastructure? Yes. Is that against this made-up Völkerrecht that everybody fucking pretends is real? The guy from Canada just got up on stage at the WEF and said it's all bullshit. It's all been a lie this whole time. Yes, that's right. It has all been a lie. And it's a lie now because these same people didn't say a fucking word when Israel was slaughtering tens of thousands of innocent fucking people in Gaza, right? That's okay because it's Israel, right? We can't say shit about that. But if Russia destroys the infrastructure, that's Völkerrecht widerlich. Fuck you, man, the hypocritical cocksuckers. Get out of here with that shit. Now, I think it sucks for the Ukrainian people. I think instead of allowing a bunch of third world Muslims into the country, right, and into Europe, why don't we just stop doing that and set up rescue programs to get all the Ukrainians here so that they don't have to sit in minus 20? Because for them, it sucks. They didn't ask for this shit, right? This is a war caused by politicians, right, that couldn't agree. And so now the Ukrainian people have to suffer because of it. And they're made continue to suffer because the Europeans keep putting fucking gum in the works when it comes to a deal to be made to stop the fighting. The Europeans don't want to stop the fighting. So for these cocksuckers to come and sit at Marcus Lanz on their high horses and their moral finger wagging and say, well, you know, we're ready to fight to the last Ukrainian. Yeah, I get that. But your kids aren't there freezing. You know what I mean? So I would say let all the Ukrainians into Europe. They match much more with our values, and get all the fucking Islamist terrorists and all that shit out of here. Get all the Syrians out that are sucking the welfare system dry in this country. Get them out, replace them with Ukrainians so that they can have warmth and jobs and food for their kids while there's a war going on in their country. That would be my solution, but you don't hear these people saying anything like that. No, they're just basically saying, no, well, Putin is doing illegal stuff and he has to stop. And if he doesn't, well, too bad for the Ukrainians, but they're going to have to sit in the fucking cold. That's not a solution, is it? No, the Europeans have to extricate themselves from the negotiations about this war and let Donald Trump, Putin, and Zelensky work it out. That's what I think. That'll stop the killing the fastest. The Europeans are making sure the killing continues. The Europeans are making sure that the infrastructure keeps getting hit, that Russia is eventually going to just win this war. Because that's the case, guys. Russia is going to win if it continues, and they know it. That's why they're not stopping. That's why they're continuing this war. That's why they're like, look, we can wait you guys out forever, right? We can wait you guys out forever, yo. It's cool. We're winning. And they are. Ukraine has no chance to win this war. And it sucks for Ukraine, but that means if they want to salvage anything and have any power in their own country, they're going to have to make a deal right now. Because every day that passes, the deal for them gets worse. That's how it works in war. If I win the war, I'm the fucking boss. If during the war, I decide to give some of my power up to the other guy, then I'm not going to be the boss and the war stops. But if the other guy tells me to fuck my mother and says, we'll just keep fighting, I'll be like, okay, we'll keep fighting. But if in the end, I beat you completely to a pulp, then that's it. I win. And that means I make the fucking rules. That's how that works. I know, I wish it didn't work like that. I really do. I wish that we could, all sing Kumbaya and live in this happy world where nobody fights and nobody does anything. It's just not realistic. It just doesn't happen like that. So the politicians are there to stop these wars from happening, right? But they don't, because they don't get their way. And they're like, fuck that shit. Ukraine can be part of NATO whenever they want. It's up to them. And so let them get slaughtered. You know what I mean? What kind of people are these? What kind of people are these? These people are maniacs. And the people on Marcus Lanz represent those people, right, that I'm talking about. They represent the Friedrich Merzes and the blah, blah, blahs, all these fucking people, who knows what the fuck they're all called, but all these morons that are now have the levers of power because the people of Germany were too dumb to elect the AfD. I hope you learned your lesson, okay? I hope you learned your lesson and that the AfD will get a full majority so they can finally do something to start cleaning this fucking shit up, because it's a fucking mess. And Friedrich Merz isn't making it any better. Last point about Marcus Lanz yesterday, January 3rd. Watch it if you want. You'll hear that everything I'm telling you is true. You can fact check me if you like. Okay? But on Marcus Lanz, they were also laughing about Friedrich Merz and how he came up with this awesome spruch, this awesome fucking sentence. He said, Europe has got to start learning how to speak with power. We got to learn how to speak the words of power. Listen, you can only do that if you have power. So Friedrich Merz, you're hilarious, but you've got like no power. And what I mean with power is you can't talk tough when you're the biggest loser. You can't talk tough when you're the biggest pussy. Nobody is scared of Germany, Europe, Friedrich Merz, any of these. Nobody's fucking scared of any of them. Donald Trump's not scared of them. Fucking Vladimir Putin sure as fuck ain't scared of them. You know what I mean? Nobody's scared of them. So you can't talk. Friedrich Merz can have a wonderful talk. It's always, we hear our chancellor talking with power. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, that works real great. Unless you don't have any power. Friedrich Merz doesn't have any power on the world stage. He's a fucking loser. He's a lying loser. And so the big talk is great. But these people in Marcus Lanz shouldn't support big talk when you don't have shit to back it up. Okay? If somebody that I can beat to death talks shit to me, then he's going to learn, right? They're going to learn. And then going to his family and his friends and saying, well, I spoke power, and going there with two black fucking eyes isn't going to do any favors for him either, right? So Friedrich Merz should just shut the fuck up and concentrate on trying to make this country better. But he won't do that because he can't, because he's ideologically captured by the left and the SPD. Actually, he's Lars Klingbeil's bitch, and we all know it. So there you go, another Marcus Lanz update for y'all. All bullshit, all propaganda with a little tiny bit of truth in it. That's how they roll. Okay, people. Talk to you later.